Thanks, Ewan, for attending today and speaking. A lot of people found it super exciting. You were up there with Tim and you guys were going through, kind of like the challenges that Nordea faces and how you guys are overcoming them. Can you kind of give us your thoughts, this community that's being built over at Google Data Talks with Ida for people that are interested in kind of staying ahead of the curve for their own industries with it for data? Can you kind of give us your thoughts on the event?
These data talk events are incredibly important, and it's the growing community around these events that's where the value is, right? It's listening to best practices, listening to the learning experience that others are having in different industries, and then looking for the opportunities to apply that to your own industry. So here from a Nordea, from a financial standpoint, it's great listening to colleagues from completely different industries and go, oh wow, that's how you solve that. Because actually, typically speaking, and especially in a regulated environment, a lot of the complexity is similar across industries. But then it's also really interesting taking that opportunity to say, so what is it you're doing? How do you manage these things? And is there anything that we can learn from that? And by the way, how can we help you? This technology, this industry of data is growing so fast, which just underscores the importance, the need for a community like Data Talks.
Excellent. So that's super nice. As far as, you also touched on this during your talk, but you yourself being at the C-level, can you kind of tell us about the challenges that enterprises like companies like Nordea, when there's hundreds or even thousands of different components of the company, how to get a data-driven culture and also adapt new technologies? What are the challenges for those two facets?
So there's multiple challenges when you're operating an organization like Nordea from a data standpoint, from a technology standpoint, because this technology is changing on a very frequent basis. And we also have to manage that aspect, the technology aspect, with the customer aspect. So looking at what does the customer need, what does the customer want, how does technology answer that, what do we then need to do to organize our stack, our data correctly, and then what services should we be acquiring externally, how should we be partnering with the right players to bring the best possible service to the customer. So I think from a C-level view, I think we're starting with a customer typically. What do we need? How can we array our services, our infrastructure to best benefit the customer?
That's super interesting. And we had a quick chat earlier, and can you kind of relay to our listeners and followers the journey that Nordea has been on in just staying right at the edge of that fast trajectory of having a truly data-driven business?
You see, the customer expects their financial life to be made simpler, to be seamless. And in many cases, the legacy that many financial institutions have is incompatible with that. So we in Nordea, we've had to change fast. We had to adapt how we're operating to make sure we can meet that customer need. So it's an ongoing journey. I don't think you're never finished, right? Because new trends, new technologies, new approaches are emerging all the time. That's why it's important to be at these kind of events to get that perspective and find out what others are doing to check your thinking, to check what you're aiming to be doing. I think one of the major aspects that we've had to deal with in Nordea is the legacy challenge, and I think we can all look at some of the newer players and go, wow, no legacy, awesome. But with us, what we've got to do is make sure we're taking the right choices, making the right choices, the right decisions, so that we can bring the best service to the customer. Excellent.
Well, that leads to this next question. As far as you mentioned chat bots and kind of trends and how Nordea is super efficient in that space. For our listeners and followers, what would you kind of guide them to follow as far as trends within data, maybe to stay at the same pace as Nordea?
I think we've been really, really excited to launch our chatbot services for the customer, and because it's amazing seeing the customer respond to these types of services. We're always careful to test and learn with the customer to see, is this the right approach? What do you think? Taking the feedback from them. And then what you're able to do with these types of technologies is you answer their questions quicker, help them quicker. And for me as an end consumer, for example, I'm quite happy to say my preference is I'm happy to type to chatbot and saying, hey, how do I get a new debit card replacement? And if the chatbot responds with the right information, awesome. And we've been working really hard to make sure that's happening. And even better, wouldn't it be cool if the chatbot can say, cool, shall I take care of that for you? Yeah. Now, some of our customers want to speak to a human, and that's perfectly fine. But what we're doing is using these types of services to augment our approach, so that for those customers that want to serve themselves and want to get things done quickly themselves, perfectly fine. There's a facility. And for those who want to speak to us, what we're doing is freeing up time in a call center, time in the branch, so you can actually have those meaningful conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's super interesting as far as a truly unified customer view, being able to serve them the best way. Can you kind of touch on how technologies maybe like Cluden can help you guys support that unified customer view so you can get them the right type of customer experience and response, and then also dealing with the second asset, which is integration between all of your different systems?
See, I think high level, what we're doing as a financial institution sounds quite straightforward. You know, data is created here, and then we need to do some things to it and then present it to the customer there. That sounds straightforward, but actually there's a heck of a lot going on in between. And where we need to work with specialist providers like Cluden is making sure that we're able to say, look, here's some data here, and here's some data here, and the data over here, and this data is in a different state to this data. And there's a lot of organization to be done. So leveraging services such as Cluden enables us to bring the very best seamless service to the customer. Because this stuff, it sounds easy, but when you're taking data from multiple sources, multiple types of data, structured, unstructured, and then presenting it, wanting to present that information quickly to the customer to make it useful, we have to make sure we've got the best possible approach. So that's why we're working with lots of third parties to bring that expertise and bring that perspective.
Super. Well, that's a really great summary. We really appreciate your time, Ewan. We know you're extremely busy and have so much, and yeah, thank you so much for your presentation today and taking the time out to help our listeners and followers.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.